So this week's discussion, we were talking about the multimedia team is composed of several different job titles. Make a list of those titles and based on your experience, education, and personal makeup, present your list and describe which one would best fit you and why. So I did a search for a couple of these terms, and this is the website they came up with, balancecareers.com. And so I'm going to this introduction and everything else, but let's get down here. So I believe, here we go. So we have things like account executive, art director, creative project manager, designer, graphic artist, graphic designer, kind of the same thing. Marketing assistant, media director, media production development manager, media specialist, merchandising manager, multimedia designer, multimedia services manager, multimedia specialist, promotion specialist, and public relations specialist. So a lot of these are kind of redundant, like graphic artist, graphic designer. It's essentially the same thing. And when you get into like multimedia designer and multimedia specialist, it's basically the same thing. It's just fancy ways of going about it. My personal preference, I've always been a hands-on individual. I don't like sitting on the sidelines, and even though I have had management positions before in some previous employment, I personally like to, for lack of a better term, get my hands dirty. So I like to be in the mix of everything. I've always had a creative inclination. I've been an artist since I was a kid. And so I would like to, as far as I'm concerned, so designer, graphic artist, graphic designer, we want to talk about these three right here, which could basically be all the same job. This is what I'm doing right now. And I love the job that I have right now. But this is where, you end up dealing with client requests, and, you may have to, sometimes they'll drop in assets for you to work with. And so it definitely takes a technical skill, but it also does take an artistic, visual sense of hierarchy and alignment, and what messages you want to deliver and how. And sometimes you have certain guidelines to work with, such as colors and fonts and possibly proprietary logos. But sometimes you do get to play around with it, and it's cool because you can use, a lot of it is technical skill, but you also do need to have an eye for detail, and you just have to be extremely detail oriented. And that's actually what I'm doing right now. What would I like to do in the future? We're looking down here at multimedia designer, which is, if you really think about it, the artistic world is moving more away from having museum traffic and going and seeing paintings hanging on a wall is not so much of an appreciated medium anymore as maybe it used to be. Modern multimedia, modern artists, in order to really stay relevant in the field, need to take an approach of like multimedia type, either installations, or we have places like Meow Wolf out here in New Mexico, and I think there's one in Nevada now, in Las Vegas. But multimedia art installations are blowing up, and this is something that I don't think is going to go away anytime soon. And not to mention, even if you're not involved with a tangible, tactile building or structure being like the place that you display your artwork or design skills, there's always things like virtual reality, there's video games, there's video editing, there's, you can do short films, possibly even getting into 3D animation and that sort of thing. So those are kind of my, where I'm leaning towards in my career path. Like I said, I've already got a job as a graphic artist, so I've definitely got my foot in the door. So, yeah, I guess I will see everybody in the thread. Sorry this is so long-winded, but sometimes that's just how it works.